Ho, ho, ho! Happy Halloween! Wait, no, that can't be right. Ho, 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 that's Santa Claus, that's Christmas. This isn't Christmas, this is Halloween. Come on, Mr. Berglund. Alright, happy Halloween, everyone. Happy Halloween week. Alright, so I thought it'd be fun to do a pumpkin investigation. So in class, we have already talked about what this investigation will look like, and now it's time to actually start to investigate and explore our pumpkins. So, the first thing that a scientist, a geologist, most scientists do when they come across a new object is that they want to learn more about it. And they want to observe some of the properties of the object. And our object is going to be this pumpkin! Oh. Alright, so right now I want you to think about all the properties that you would want to look for when observing your pumpkin. Go ahead and hold up your pumpkin if you can. If it's too heavy, you don't need to pick it up. But what are some properties that you would look for when observing your pumpkin? Go ahead, tell your parents, tell your guardian, what are some properties you would look for? Now, after you have done that, I want to talk about two new properties that we really haven't talked about in class. The first property is the weight of the pumpkin, how much it weighs, all right? And in America, our unit of measurement is the pound, right? We want to see how many pounds this pumpkin weighs. Now, in class, you made predictions. You predicted that your pumpkin would weigh so many pounds, right? And we should have written that in our science journal, right? And don't worry, I will post pictures of what your science journal's entry should look like so you have something to reference as you watch this video as well. I will upload pictures to this task. So we made predictions, but now we need to actually find out how much it weighs, all right? So after we have made our predictions, now we're going to write in our journal, my pumpkin actually weighs, because one of the properties is how heavy an object is. So once you have written your prediction, now let's go ahead, find a scale. So I have a scale right here, and this measures how much your pumpkin will weigh. So put your scale on the ground and place your pumpkin on the scale, and numbers will come up. And now I've already done this, and my camera can't go low enough to film it, alright? But I predicted that my pumpkin would weigh 32 pounds. Just when I picked it up, I was like, this feels like 32 pounds. But when I actually weighed my pumpkin weighed 16.4 pounds. So in my journal, what I would do is I would write, my pumpkin actually weighs 16.4 pounds. And then you should have a line graph, right? A line plot. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your line plot, because we want to input our data. Data lets us keep track of all of our information, and so we know and we can reference it, all right? So I have my line chart right here. And what I did is it says weight of pumpkins. So my pumpkin weighs 16.4 pounds. So here's the number 15, that indicates 15 pounds. And one more line after 15, one more, 15 plus 1 is 16. So my pumpkin weighs 16.4 pounds. Alright, so that's what I have done. But now we need to talk about another property. Right, we have the weight, but now we have to talk about the circumference. The circumference relates to the size of how big something is, right? The size of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure the circumference. And do you remember what circumference is? If you do, let's talk with your parents. What do you think? Can you explain to them what the circumference is? All right, what does the circumference measure? All right. So the circumference, right, now that we've talked about, measures the distance around an object. Alright, and the unit measurement we're going to use is centimeters. So you'll need a tool, another tool to measure your circumference. Alright, you have a tape measure. Alright, and I have it on the centimeter side. So the circumference measures the distance around the object. So I'm going to take my tape measure, alright, and we're going to go all the way around. And now I see where my finger is, and wherever it meets this line, I'm going to come here. So my pumpkin has a circumference of 89 centimeters. this is a large pumpkin. And once I have measured my circumference, I'm going to input the data, right? We're going to input it back into our journal. So I'm going to hold up my journal. So it says right here in red, the circumference of my pumpkin is blank centimeters. So you're going to put how many centimeters it is, and then you're going to take your circumference line plot, right? Take your circumference line plot, and look, I had to come all the way down here. Mine is 89 centimeters. The circumference of my pumpkin is 89 centimeters. Right? So now we have explored 2 new properties of our pumpkin. But there are still other properties that we can look for, and I asked you to talk with your parents about what those properties could be. All right, so now I want you to investigate the properties. What are some properties that you could look for when observing your pumpkin? Anyone? All right, now that you have talked about it with your parents, right, let's maybe look at, as I take my pumpkin, maybe let's look at the color. What color is it? The size, we know the size, right? We just measured that. The weight, we just measured how heavy it is. What about the texture? How does it feel? And then also, what about the smell? Does it smell like a pumpkin? Does it smell like chocolate chips? What does it smell like to you? So go ahead and input that data, all right? So this is how I did it. On my journal, I wrote properties of my pumpkin before cutting it open. And then I'm just going to write all my data right here. After you have inputted all your data and observed the properties, now it's going to get messy. I hope you have proper clothes. I hope you're not wearing anything that you're worried about getting dirty, right? It's time to get down to nitty gritty, all right? We need to cut open our pumpkin. All right, we have our pumpkin, right? We got to cut it open. There's things, right? What's inside the pumpkin? Is what's inside the pumpkin making it the reason why it weighs so much? Like, right, what's inside a pumpkin? There's chickens, there's maybe some milk inside pumpkins. Oh, I once think I found a toucan inside a pumpkin. No, that was when I was in the Bahamas. In pumpkins, we have seeds and guts and fibers, right? So let's go ahead and cut open your pumpkin. All right, and I want you to scoop everything out, take the seeds out, take the stringy, the fibrous parts of inside the pumpkin out. All right, and then I want you to make another prediction. I want you to predict, will your pumpkin weigh more, less, or the same amount of weight after you scoop everything out? All right, so again, in your journal, I want you to write your prediction, right? After opening my pumpkin and taking out the insides, I predict that my pumpkin will weigh more, less, or the same. All right. After you scoop everything out, I would like for you to weigh your pumpkin and then input how much it weighs right here. You're going to say my pumpkin, after weighing, my pumpkin now weighs, and you put how much, and then you'll be able to notice. You can go back to your data, right? The reason we keep data is because we can use it to track. So we know that our pumpkin weighed so much. I know that my pumpkin weighed 16.4 pounds before taking everything out. But now, after scooping the insides, I will be able to find out how much it weighs after taking everything out. And after you've done that, now I want you to observe the properties of your pumpkin. Because maybe some properties of your pumpkin have changed after you have cut it open. Maybe the weight's changed. Maybe the smell has changed. Has the texture changed? I don't know. So what you're going to do is you are going to list the properties of your pumpkins after taking out the insides. And then you're going to write, did any properties change? Why or why not? And I want you to list those properties. All right, so that is going to be your first task. Mr. Berglund can't speak. That will be your first task. Don't forget, I would love to see photos of you working with your parents, of you measuring, of you weighing, of you inputting data. Anything you have that you want to upload, I have sent a Google Drive to your parents so that they can upload photos of your work. All right, go ahead and get to work. And when we come back next class, we're going to discuss, and then we're going to talk about our next task, everyone. So thank you. Enjoy this experiment. I can't wait to talk about it with you at a later time.